In the early 13th century, the medieval world believed it understood war. Kingdoms fought over borders. Armies clashed on battlefields. Cities fell, were looted, and often rebuilt. Violence was brutal, but it followed recognizable rules. Then, from the eastern steppes, came a force that shattered every assumption. The Mongols did not merely conquer territories. They erased cities. They emptied landscapes of human life. They rewrote the logic of fear, power, and survival. Between 1200 and 1300, the Mongol conquests became the most devastating series of invasions the medieval world had ever witnessed, and paradoxically, one of the forces that reshaped the path toward the modern age. This is not just the story of destruction. It is the story of how destruction transformed civilization itself. Before the storm, a connected medieval world before the Mongols, much of Eurasia was already interconnected but fragile. Cities like Bukhara, Samarkand, Nishapur, and Baghdad stood at the heart of trade networks linking China, the Islamic world, and Europe. Caravans crossed deserts carrying silk, spices, books, and ideas. Scholars debated philosophy in Baghdad, while engineers built canals in Persia and astronomers mapped the skies. Urban life was dense, learned, and complex, yet these cities depended on stability. Walls protected them, rulers taxed them, armies defended them. None of this mattered against what was coming: the rise of a new kind of war. The Mongols emerged from the vast Eurasian steppe, where survival demanded speed, coordination, and discipline. Under Temujin, later known as Genghis Khan, scattered tribes were unified into a single war machine. This army was unlike anything medieval societies had faced. Highly mobile cavalry, composite bows with deadly range, perfect coordination through signals and discipline, absolute obedience to command, but their greatest weapon was not physical. It was psychological terror. The Mongols understood something revolutionary. Fear could destroy cities faster than armies. Bukhara and Samarkand. They shocked civilization in 1220. Mongol forces reached Bukhara, one of Central Asia's great centers of learning and faith. After the city fell, Genghis Khan is said to have addressed the survivors inside a mosque. "I am the punishment of God. If you had not committed great sins, God would not have sent a punishment like me upon you." Whether apocryphal or not, the message was unmistakable. Bukhara was devastated. Samarkand followed. Despite surrender, thousands were slaughtered or enslaved. Skilled artisans were spared, not out of mercy, but utility. Everyone else was expended. This was not conquest for administration. It was conquest for example. Nishapur, a city wiped from the earth. If any city represents the extreme logic of Mongol warfare, it is left after the death of a Mongol commander during local revolt. The response was annihilation. Men, women, children, all killed. Animals slaughtered. Buildings leveled. Chroniclers wrote that the city ceased to exist as a place of life. It became a warning etched into the land. From this moment on, resistance often meant extinction. Fear as strategy. The Mongols deliberately cultivated horror. They constructed pyramids of skulls outside city walls. They spared witnesses only to send them fleeing ahead, spreading panic. They encouraged exaggerated rumors of their cruelty because terror saved time and soul. Many cities surrendered at the mere rumor of Mongol approach. For the medieval mind, this was a war was no longer limited. It was total. Baghdad 1258. The end of an era, the most symbolic destruction came in 1258, when Mongol forces reached Baghdad, the jewel of the Islamic world. For centuries, Baghdad had been a center of science, philosophy, medicine, and literature. Its libraries preserved ancient Greek knowledge. Its scholars advanced mathematics, astronomy, and law. The siege was brief. When the city fell, devastation followed. Chroniclers describe streets filled with bodies, libraries burned, manuscripts thrown into the tideless river until the water ran dark with ink and red with blood. The House of Wisdom, symbol of the Islamic Golden Age, was gone. With Baghdad's fall, an entire intellectual world collapsed. Demographic and environmental collapse. The Mongol invasions caused more than political change. They reshaped landscapes. Irrigation systems were destroyed. Farmland reverted to desert. Entire regions lost most of their population. Modern historians estimate tens of millions died across Eurasia through massacre, famine, and displacement. Some areas took centuries to recover. Others never fully did. The medieval world shrank. The paradox: order after destruction, yet history is rarely simple. Once conquest ended, the Mongols did something unexpected. They stabilized. The Pax Mongolica emerged, a vast zone of relative peace stretching from China to Eastern Europe. Trade routes reopened, safer than ever before. Caravans moved freely under Mongol protection. Merchants, travelers, and diplomats crossed continents. This destruction-driven empire unintentionally created the most connected world the Middle Ages had ever known. The flow of knowledge along these secure routes traveled more than goods. Paper-making techniques spread west. Gunpowder knowledge moved toward Europe. Navigational tools, maps, and medical ideas crossed cultures. Europe, long peripheral to Asian and Islamic innovation, began receiving knowledge at unprecedented speed. The medieval intellectual balance began to shift. The Black Death. A deadly consequence. Connectivity had a price. In the mid-14th century, plague traveled along the same routes the Mongols had secured. The Black Death devastated Europe, the Middle East, and Asia. While not caused by the Mongols alone, the global network their empire enabled accelerated spread. The result was catastrophe, but also transformation. The end of the old medieval order. After the Mongol century, the medieval world was no longer the same. Feudal systems weakened. Labor shortages empowered peasants. Old aristocracies lost control. Cities adapted or vanished. Authority fractured. Tradition was questioned. This instability laid the psychological groundwork for change. From ruins to Renaissance. The Renaissance did not arise despite the Mongols, but partly because of the world they shattered and reshaped. Classical texts, preserved and transmitted through Islamic scholars, reached Europe more fully. Technologies refined in Asia entered European warfare and industry. Trade wealth empowered new merchant classes. Europe began to look outward, curious and ambitious. The medieval worldview closed. Hierarchical, static, gave way to something new. A world remade by fire. The Mongol conquests represent one of history's coolest paradoxes. Destroyed cities, cultures, and lives on an unimaginable scale. Yet they also forced the medieval world into global contact, accelerated change, and dismantled stagnant systems. Civilization did not simply recover, it transformed. When we speak of progress, we often imagine peaceful. History tells a darker truth. Sometimes the world changes, not through ideas alone, but through catastrophe. The Mongols came to the storm. They erased cities. They terrified civilizations, and in doing so, they pushed the medieval world toward the threshold of modernity. If this story challenged how you see the Middle Ages, like this video to support deep historical storytelling. Subscribe for more narratives that explore the hidden forces shaping our world. And comment below. Do you believe civilization advances through destruction, Or despite it? Your answer may say more about our present than our past.